Hey, welcome back to Franly Advice. Thank you guys so much for continuing to show up and listen to me yapping on the internet. Okay, so today we're going to talk about one of my original favorite subjects. I still like yapping about it. It can be sensitive in nature to some people, but for the most part, I think it's very important that a lot of us embrace the thoughts and ideology around budgeting and money when it comes to entrepreneurship. If you are not accustomed to thinking about your money, looking at your money, and you want to be an entrepreneur, really start to sit with those feelings first and work that out in therapy or work it out through just trial and error of trying to figure out what it feels like if you do manage your money while you're at your 9 to 5, in a more realistic way instead of just in theory. Okay, so let's just give you a brief backstory on why I like talking about budgeting and where this even came up and how this factors into what I talk about today. So if you have been around for some time, you know I started a podcast in the way back times of 2017 when everyone was like, why would you choose a podcast, Fran? What is this about? Just start a regular business. Shouldn't you be looking for a place like a brick and mortar? So I started a podcast all about how we were managing our money, how we were getting out of debt. At the time we had $90K in debt as a newly married couple, most of it coming from me, because if you don't know more about me, I grew up a little food and money insecure with my family, and it wasn't their fault. I mean, a lot of times I think about it this way. My parents were just one generation removed from slavery, maybe two, but mostly one generation removed from slavery. My grandmother can remember seeing her mom pick cotton. So I started this podcast all about how to be financially healthy and how we were budgeting to get out of debt. And that's how I entered the online space. So I spent a lot of time talking about what we were doing, how I learned about it, and what was going on. Back then, I used to love to preach the gospel of Dave Ramsey. I don't anymore. I realized Dave Ramsey forgot to factor in people's historical backgrounds, me being a Black American who did not come from wealth, who is generating wealth. I have to move in a very different way for my family and understand that my generation's job is to actually create the wealth that we've been looking for and not so much live in the wealth. Anywho, so that's the background on why I know so much about budgeting. And let's talk about why this matters to Fran, the business coach, and not Fran, the person who was a money coach at the time. Not even really. I was just a side hustler who was just telling people all my business. If you are trying to replace your 9 to 5 income, sometimes it is not so much as dollar for dollar replace it as an entrepreneur. Being a solopreneur, especially in a new virtual assistant, the money sometimes is a little funny, it's a little inconsistent. So you have to understand how to manage money from the standpoint of having inconsistent checks, knowing how to save more, knowing where every single dollar is going, paying attention for real, and not just waking up and being okay, you know what? I want Chick-fil-A today, right? We have to be way more conscious, and you need to practice it before you decide to jump into the true world of entrepreneurship. And I think I would be doing you guys a disservice if I'm yeah, become a virtual assistant, and I don't tell you the risk of what happens with money if you don't think about it before you just take the jump. Let's say you get 5 clients immediately and you're oh my God, I'm already at $2,500. That's just $300 short of what I make at work. I'm gonna just quit. No, don't do that. Especially if you are the single income earner in your house. Do not do that. My mom and dad always said, don't quit a job before you have another job. So do not do that. I'm going to give you some strategies and tactics to actually use before you make the decision on replacing your 9 to 5 income with a virtual assistant work. Let's talk about how to budget the right way. Yeah, there's right and wrong way to budget. There's no shame in adding a little financial strategy. Okay, so this is what we do. I'm not telling you anything that I would not do, that I do not think is practical. This is the easiest way to make sure, if you were just kind of I don't want to work for the man, as one of my clients just told me, and you really want to make it on your own, you need to make sure that 9 to 5 is funding your dream of working for yourself. It is not all like cake and ice cream just because you hit 10K one month. Guess what? I've done that before. And then the next month I made $1,000 after that. It is inconsistent at times and you have to be prepared for the inconsistencies. So here's some ways you're going to start getting prepared for it. Number one, so when I decided to quit this time, it had a lot more to do with what was going on in our personal life than it did around like I replaced my income, right? So some of the things we've done is we stopped using credit cards, period. So we'll use our credit card if there's like a really, really big emergency and we don't want to like wipe our savings out at all. But for the most part, we have moved back to using our debit card at all times because we were just like, okay, the debt is going to start stacking up. If we just keep using credit cards and pretending like this is all our real money, that's what gets you in trouble in the first place. So before, I don't ever preach get rid of credit cards. I just say stop using them. I'll leave them at home or something and use my debit card or cash. But before, we were using credit cards, but we always paid off the entire balance at the end of the month. Once we realized that was like straining our like personal account, we said, okay, let's go back to only using our debit cards because then it's like real money and we don't feel like, oh, just charge it to my card. It's more of a conscious decision now because this is our cash. The feeling feels a little different than a credit card, and we all know this. So just stop tempting yourself with using credit cards all the time. We have prioritized saving money and just like spending less. So before we spend, we make sure we put away our savings. And then the other thing we're doing when it comes to like making sure we're budgeting the right way is we try to keep our savings at least 6 months. And this is like 6 months of saving. And this is like our bare minimum 6 months. Like if there is no income coming in this house, we can at least cover our house. We can cover like our bills from like doing our groceries, our lights, our water, like the bare minimum. No fun stuff. We can make it and be okay. And the kids would probably barely notice. So we keep 6 months of our living expenses in our savings account. If we have to use the savings account for whatever reason, we replace it right away. So we stay right at that 6 month mark and we try not to go below it. We've gone below it a couple of times and we just like busted our ass and we're like, okay, let's get it back up. But we try to keep it at that. And every time we dip into our savings, like I was saying, we replenish it. We don't like play around with it right now because I'm making inconsistent income again. So we have to be on top of covering if Fran has a $0 cash month, what do we do? So we're living off of my husband's paycheck, but we're also making sure we have enough money in the background to sustain us if something happens to either one of our incomes, whether it's inconsistent or not. Okay, here's some of our biggest budget wins, like what some of the shifts we made to really make it happen. Cut what you can so you can keep what matters. Okay, so for the first one, we switched schools. So before, both of our kids were in school, and I told you guys before, part of the reason I decided to leave my 9 to 5 was to stay at home with our youngest because he has some needs that we like try to attend to, and it's not anything super dramatic. He just goes to speech therapy every week and physical therapy. It's things that will heal over time. It just is a lot of upfront effort for us right now. And it's just much easier to manage that schedule for him going to the doctor that much without a 9 to 5 job and without paying for daycare. So we decided to switch daycares for our oldest child, who is almost 4, which I cannot believe. He's almost 4, but before, the two of them were in daycare together and we were spending upwards of $750 a week to keep them in a daycare that we just really liked. Like, it was very nice. It felt very like comfortable for me, especially when we first put our oldest into daycare. It was a really good school. Like, if you know of Primrose is like across the nation. It was very nice, but very, very expensive. So we decided to take them both out, and now our kid goes to a local school that is a Montessori school, and he goes for like part of the day. He starts at like 8:30, leaves at 2. So not a big chunk of the day, but now we're spending $230 a week instead of $780 a week on daycare. And that was immediately like a relief to our budget because we no longer had to find $750 a week to cover it. But to be fair, we were both making 6 figures, so the $750 a week didn't feel too stressful before. It just started to feel like a little bit much with me deciding I wanted to step back and stay home. So we switched that. And then the one child that stays home, and he's $0 a week. And we're also deciding to do both kids at home over the summer. So those of you who know a word of prayer, pray for me during the summer. But they're both going to stay home for the summer, so we'll even save even more because there won't even be a $210 a week to pay. It will be $0 a week for 2 months. And then the oldest will go into what is known as Georgia Pre-K here. So he'll actually go to school for free as long as it still exists, because the government hates to help children for whatever reason. We won't get on that today. And then we, speaking of the kids and expenses around them, any expense that we dropped around our kids, it wasn't harmful or detrimental to their learning, their development, or anything like that. Like, this new daycare is just super tiny. Everybody knows everybody. They're all in everyone's business. There are only 4 classrooms. You can see them all as soon as you walk in the building. The classrooms are actually smaller. Like, he has his last school at Primrose, they were like 15 kids in a room, but there were like 4 teachers. This one, there were just 8 kids in his room, 1 teacher. I was like, okay, cute. We like it. We'll stay. So in the fall, as long as the government in Georgia does not lose its mind, he will go to school for free and start Georgia Pre-K. And then the baby will go to like a half day kind of thing twice a week, and that'll only be $200 a month. So we'll really be in the money then. There will be signs once everyone's out of daycare. And then the other thing we did childcare wise is we stopped doing so many babysitters. So we used to hire a babysitter like twice a month from like Sitter Tree or local church family teens. And I was just like, okay, let's not do that. What we do instead is they either go to my mom's house or they go to my sister's house. Me and my sister do like kind of a trade. Like, one weekend her kids come over here while her and her husband go on date nights, and then the next weekend my kids go to her house and me and my husband go on date nights. So we just kind of like barter babysitting with each other instead of paying like anywhere from $150 to $200 a night. And this is just for one night for them to have someone to watch them. And usually we would put them to bed and then go out. So it was really not that great of a way to spend money. So we started leaning on our community more for babysitting and just like nix that from the budget altogether. We also like watch our gas more. Before, I was just kind of like willy-nilly, like I'll fill my gas up, I'll fill my tank up anywhere. Like, if it's low, I'm just gonna stop at the nearest gas station. We now try to go to Costco because it's so much cheaper than everywhere else. I wasn't pumping my gas before I was staying at home because Ron would take care of it. Now I do pump the gas, and I'm just like, oh my God, babe, did you know that Quick Trip was $3.20, but Costco was $2.68? And he's just like laughing because he's already known the gas prices, and I'm just like joining back into like the pricing of gas. So we try to make sure we always go to Costco to save money there. We also try to go places around town with the kids instead of like driving across Creation all the time, and making sure we're being intentional about trips we make. Because sometimes I would just get in the car and be like, I'm not sure where I'm going, I'm just going. Now I'm pretty intentional. Like, I know where I'm going, I know how many miles it's going to take, I know how much gas I'll probably spend. We try to only get gas once a week. And then we are like also doing something that I am not that excited about, but we're going to do it this summer instead of flying like we typically do with the kids, because we have only flown with them. We haven't taken any road trips at all. I just cannot imagine being in the car with them for over 2 hours. We are going to do road trips this summer instead of flights. So typically we just had a whole bunch of miles from like when I was working a 9 to 5 that required me to travel. It took me a long time to run out of those miles on Delta Sky Miles. And now we're at the point where we haven't been traveling as much. So we just do not have that many Sky Miles anymore. And our older son, he is no longer free to fly. So we also have to pay for 3 seats instead of just 2. So now we are going to do road trips over the summer to my oldest sister's house in Florida instead of flying. And I am not into this at all, but it will save us some money because the flights wouldn't be as cheap if we were paying for 3 seats. Frankie would still be free for now because he's still under 2. you would fly as an infant, but it just comes with a lot of cost if you fly, because we fly there, then we have to rent a car. Then when we rent the car, we got to rent car seats, or we got to take our car seats. So it is like very like convenient, but also costly for the convenience. So we will be driving this summer. I keep praying that the Lord sends me like so much money so we can just be like, don't worry about it, we're gonna fly. But for now, we're road tripping, and that is what the budget is telling us to do, because I ain't got no more miles. So the other thing we're doing, and you should like really consider if you want full-time entrepreneurship, is budget your food for real, and like not in a way of like in your mind, because sometimes I'll do this, like all ADHD girlies do this. In our mind, we're like, oh yeah, for sure, I can just, stop going out to eat. Next thing you know, 2 days later, we are at the McDonald's. We're at whatever it is we said we weren't going to do anymore. But no, do it for real. Like sit down and think about your spending on food. So the first thing we do, we try to keep our weekly grocery bill down to 150 or around it. So sometimes we might get to like 170 and we're like, dang. But usually that's like a restock the pantry week as well. But we mostly will try to make sure we stay at that 150 mark to keep us in like a pretty good budget. And this is weekly, it's not a month. We actually will try to stick to 150 each week for a family of 4. It is proven hard. We probably have to stop going to Publix and we'll have to go to Aldi, but it's not that bad. I have a friend who used to work at Aldi, and she was like, just go in the morning. They deliver new things every single morning and you'll get like the fresh stuff. And I was like, let me try. So we've done that, and we try to keep our pantry stocked with things like rice, beans, pasta, like really easy meals that you can keep over time. Like if you run out of anything, you can whip something together pretty quickly as long as you have the essentials in your pantry. So our grocery runs are usually for produce, protein, and dairy, things that expire, and not so much like exactly what a new recipe is. We also try to cycle through like 10 to 12 meals on a rotation to make it easier when we go grocery shopping, because we'll know like, okay, today is like we're on like meal number 6, which is salmon. So I just need to get salmon and spinach for the salmon meal that we usually make, or I get salmon and some kind of like wild rice or something that we might already have in our pantry. So we try to make sure we know like which meals we're going to eat. So it's not like this big thing every day where we're just trying to think about like, oh, what are we having for dinner? And then we end up eating out. So that's the only reason we keep those 12 things on rotation. Speaking of eating out, we don't deny ourselves eating out. I told y'all before, I don't really love Dave Ramsey, because it is not millennials' fault that everything costs so much now. And truthfully, Ron makes 6 figures. There should be no reason that this should be so hard to manage our money and survive. But the cost of groceries has gone up. The cost of gas has gone up. The cost of daycare is so expensive. The cost of having a child in general sends our budget through the roof. Owning a home, everything is so much more expensive than our parents' generation that us trying to truly live off of just Ron's 6-figure income would not work out. So I still do have to earn money. And this is why we like try to stick to these things, but we do still go out to eat. We just make a deal with ourselves. If we go out to eat one night, we need to not go out to eat for the next 3 nights after, or 3 to 4 nights after, and then we can go again. Or we try our best to stick to like 3 to 4 times going out to eat a month. And that includes like fast food as well. But yeah, that's what we do around food with our budget since I decided to leave my 9 to 5. All right. And then the mindset shift from 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. So going from predictable income to unpredictable income is so tough on some people. It's just not knowing how much you'll make every month. So last month, I think I made like $2,500 in my business. This month, I've already made the $2,500 I made, and that's in cash, not in sales. So in sales, it would be different, because sales could mean like, okay, you signed a contract for 3 months and you pay me $997 for 3 months of working together, right? But you pay me $350 a month. So I don't see that $997 on day 1. I see $350 on that day. That's the cash I earn each month. So last month, cash wise, we were only at $2,500. Now we're already at the $2,500. So what that means is I probably will make more this month than I did last month, but we wouldn't have known that. Like, there's no way of knowing how much I will make as an entrepreneur, especially starting out, until we start to like get consistent. I get to save more money in my business and then I can pay myself more predictably. But that's the hardest part, is not knowing how much you're going to make like on any given month, especially as a new baby VA. Like, maybe sometimes you do like one-off projects for people, like you set up their project manager and they pay you like $6,000 that day. Yeah, that was cool. That was $6,000, but they just paid you it for that one day. That revenue is not coming back next month. You got to figure out how to replace that revenue next month. Or it could just be that you have some clients that you're just kind of like, I don't think we mesh well together. You want to let them go. So now we got to think about replacing their income. Or a client, like, you didn't know they were about to close their business doors and they closed their doors and now they don't need a virtual assistant anymore. That changes your income. So it's just kind of inconsistent at times. That's one of the hardest parts of leaving a 9-to-5 job and going into entrepreneurship. The solution is to make sure you save enough before you leave your 9-to-5 to cover you, like I was talking before, for the like next 6 months, while you start to like save as you're earning your business. Once you get to a point in your business, and if you don't know, quick plug, use the Profit First system. It's like a really good book. Go read it. It's really good for new entrepreneurs. But read Profit First. Profit First basically will tell you to start to like save all of the money you earn before you start to like really pay yourself in like a salary. You still pay yourself first, like a percentage of the profit, but you want to really bulk up your savings, and then you can start to like kind of pay yourself from the savings instead of like waiting for clients to pay you and then you get paid. That's where we start to like fall into issues and the money really get funny. So start like bulking up your business savings account and start paying yourself like an employee of your business. So that's one way you can solve this. It will take time to get to that solution, but really think about that now. And then long term, pay yourself bi-weekly or monthly again once you get to the point that you can. And then, entrepreneurship does give you flexibility, but we have to really build some structure around the money inside of our business. I know it sounds like super cute to work for yourself, but you are still truly working. Okay, I gave you a lot. So let's like quickly review what we talked about today. So number one, how I'm budgeting right now, where we don't actually know how much I'll make every single month. And there's no shame in choosing a financial strategy. And two, we just cut out what doesn't matter. Like things that aren't like super big deal breakers to us, we cut it out. 3, we budget our food like crazy. That's one of the things that can get out of control real fast. Like one time I remember seeing we had spent like $2,500 in 1 month on food alone. And I was like, what? We cut out crazy food bills. And 4, you just have to have like a really huge mindset shift when it comes to like your income inconsistency, because you're so used to the 9-to-5 life where bi-weekly, trust and believe, they better have your check and it better be in your bank account. But when you run your own business, it's not always. Sometimes you're chasing an invoice. Sometimes you haven't saved enough in your business bank account to pay yourself your typical salary. So make sure you're saving up to get to the point where you become like a salaried employee of your business. Okay, that's a wrap. This is going to be part 1 of how to manage your money for full-time entrepreneurship as a brand new VA. So I can't wait to record part 2. I didn't think this was going to become a 2-part series, but I wrote way too many notes for y'all. So I will see y'all next week. If you need some help and you're just kind of like, Fran, I want to work through this kind of stuff with you as well as becoming a virtual assistant, it would be my honor to be your coach. Right now, I'm doing the same thing. I think this will just be my forever offer. One-on-one coaching for 3 months at $9.97 or a VIP day for $4.97. Moving forward, in the VIP day, it's just half a day together where we would just set up your business in a day and the strategies you need to use moving forward. All right. I will see y'all next week on Franly Advice. Peace.